bizarre experience. We were expecting one thing and then didn't get something else. And so we want to kind of take everybody through what happened today. We were told by sheriff's deputies this interview had no time limit. So I was prepared to ask Christopher Eaves everything. Did he do it? Was there a motive? How long had he planned this? Were mental health issues and drugs at play? And why did he flee the crime scene, then come back? Those were just a few of the questions we wanted to ask the suspected killer. I was sitting at this small table. He would be across from me. The deputies called to bring him in, and this is what happened instead.
Bring him over here first, Artie. You don't want him, please. Need you to initial this, Christopher. It's just saying that Fox 10 and AZ family here, just put your initials by each one for me. Where is he? That's the one you signed earlier.
Are any of you working for a law enforcement agency or working on behalf of a law enforcement organization?
No.
No. You are?
No.
Okay. No walk-in footage, please. I need to be afforded a suit of clothes for any interviews I was going to be afforded. I don't want to undertake any interviews in these clothes, so no footage.
Oh, then we can't do it. No, we can't do an interview.
Okay. Then I need to speak to the ACLU. I've been trying to reach my attorney. I still haven't been afforded access to counsel, and I have not been afforded a lawyer. Afforded me a public attorney that I denied as counsel, and I have not been read my rights or Mirandized, and there are a number of issues. But USSC 6345 and USSC 61342 are published, and in Black's Law Dictionary, you can look those up. You'll have a number of answers about this case. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
We'll talk to you, Brandon.
And that was it. And so we believe this is all a ruse, a calculated ruse to get a new attorney, that he agreed to the interview specific with those ulterior motives, never really had the intention to sit down and talk, but that's what we are left with.
Because he had a lot of numbers and a lot of codes off the top of his head. What was that?
Codes. Yeah, so we were trying to figure that out too. What are all these codes? And he references Black's Law Dictionary. That's a legal dictionary, but there are no codes in that. That dictionary only explains legal terms and what they mean. There's no numbers. So I was talking to a criminal defense attorney saying, what are these? Are these any codes? No, these codes do not exist anywhere. There's a chance he was possibly referring to the United States Code, specifically about his rights, the civil liberties of somebody and abuse of those with an officer. But again, that code does not exist. And even if you're looking at a US code, that has nothing to do with this case. This is a state case. This is not a federal case. So that was a kind of a bunch of nonsense when it comes to the actual case at hand. But I don't know what he meant by all of that.
And to be clear, the victim in this case was an attorney.
Yes, he was.
The brother, the accused, is not an attorney.
This is correct, right. And so we had so many questions. We wanted to learn more about his history. Did something happen between him and his brother? We know there were mental health issues at play. His parents, he was living with his parents at the time of the crime. His parents told police that he struggled with mental health issues and he had drug abuse in the past. He was hospitalized for fentanyl and meth use about 2 years ago. So we know some of that was at play here, but how much of that factored into the day and how long had he possibly and allegedly planned this crime? Those are still unanswered at this time.
So what say you as far as jailhouse interviews, your take on this? Because any of us who have done jailhouse interviews, you know you are taking a risk in. They may have said yes in the moment. You get there and you sit down and you see what happens today.
I was completely prepared for anything to happen, and I knew that up until the very moment that he's sitting there and speaking to us, anything could happen, and that's exactly what happened. But it's very tense. I mean, you go through the entire jail. We passed inmates just to get to the room where we were doing this interview at, a tiny table. We had to wait for him to come in the shackles, and I mean, it can be a very tense and serious moment there. And then to watch this all play out, you don't really know how to react in that moment. I didn't want to speak out of turn. But I wanted to ask him more. You know, he was unhappy with the outfit he was wearing and the clothing he had, and I don't care what he's wearing. We wanted to sit there and ask questions that the public, the community, obviously have been asking now for weeks, and that just wasn't afforded to us.
Were there rules as far as if you could ask him questions? Because I would be burning inside while he's standing there to just spew out questions because I don't know when he's going to take off.
The problem was that he hadn't initialed the document yet. So they brought him in to initial this final document to go through with the interview, acknowledging that we were there, and I'm not sure. And that's the question. Could I have just started asking him questions from where I was sitting over there? I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how this all played out. He's set for his arraignment this Friday, so we'll see if he says anything in court there. But he's talked about this Miranda rights this and Miranda rights that, and I'm afforded this and I want a new attorney. It's the same thing we heard in his initial appearance. So it's kind of that same tune, but we just don't know what was going on. And again, he went back to the crime scene, and we had video footage of him back at the crime scene after. So what happened, it's just such a tragedy, and I wish we could have gotten some of our questions answered.
Maybe we'll have another time.
Maybe.
All right, Brianna Whitney, thank you.
Yeah.